Alright guys, I have a confession to make. I might have too many video games. I have over 1,300 games, and one problem I think a lot of game collectors can relate to is choosing what game to play next. For me, this is always like a mental struggle I go through when it's time to switch games, and even getting to that point is hard. Like, when can it be time to switch games? In this video, I'm going to just be talking about my struggles with choosing new games, how I go about it, the systems that I've developed that work for me. Let me know how you guys choose what games to play, and if you have similar problems. So, like I said, it can be hard to even know when it's time to switch games. Throughout my life, I was never good about beating games. I think I probably beat 1 to 2 games a year. One of them was always Pokemon, and then maybe like Fire Emblem, or Need for Speed, or Yokai Watch, just depending on what came out that year and where my attention was. But since I've been collecting games and trying to be more organized about what I'm giving my attention to and how I play games, I have started to beat more. So 2 years ago, I beat 8 games. Last year, 2024, I beat 33. If this rate continues, I'm going to beat like 500 games this year. It's going to be awesome. No, I'll probably keep it in like the 25 to 30 range, I think. I'm still not someone who holds myself to like, I have to always beat a game. I know some game collectors are like that, and they're very like, I guess extreme is the best word I can think of, where it's like, you know, either I beat this game or I have to sell it, or I'm admitting I don't need it or something. And I don't know. My brain just doesn't work that way. I can't focus on one thing for that long. Like, I'm probably 50 hours into Persona, and I think over the next like 8 years of my life, I'll probably like pick away at it in 5-hour chunks, and maybe someday I'll beat it. I think I max out at like the 30 to 50 hour range of playing a game in one sitting, and I probably prefer more like the 5 to 20 hour range. With that all being said, you know, sometimes either because I beat a game or I just decide, hey, I'm, you know, my experience of this game is kind of like slowing down and getting less exciting. Maybe it's time to try something new. I'll come back to it. I'll swing back to this later. Well, what do I do? The main thought I have, I think I have this thought, which is that I want to make sure all my consoles are at least reasonably used. I don't want to completely neglect all of them. I have neglected a few. I've been tracking what games I've played for over a year and a half, and in that time I have not logged a single hour on any PS Vita or OG Xbox games. With my OG Xbox, it's because I only have like 5 games, because I've given up on the console because they're all breaking and they're like 97 pounds and it's just not worth it. So I only have the backwards compatible ones. With the PS Vita, it's because its battery's weird. I've been trying to nurse it back to health by having it plugged into my PS3, but it's just not a handheld I pick up naturally. I'm always going to pretty much pick up my Switch or Game Boy or 3DS or PSP or literally anything before my PS Vita, but I do want to play it. That's a goal for this year, is beat at least one PS Vita game and one OG Xbox game. Let's see if I do it. If I just got done playing a PS5 game, I will probably be less inclined to pick up another PS5 game to play right after it, just because, you know, that's too much attention on one console. So then, you know, I'll switch to something like, I don't know, my PS3 or my Wii. Well, are the controllers charged, or do they have new batteries? Do I need to find new batteries? Do I need to find the controllers themselves? There are tons of things that go into this. I have a specific dilemma with my Wii and PS2, which is that the best way I found to display them on my modern TV is by using component cables and then just doing component to HDMI adapter. But I only have one of those because they're like $30 and I don't want to buy 2 of them. So at any given time, I either can access my PS2 and PS1 games on my PS2, or my Wii and GameCube games on my Wii. You know, having all 4 of those consoles at once would just be too much power for any one person. I'll get done playing the Wii game that I plugged my Wii in for, and then I'll be like, okay, let's switch over to the PS2. It's a different console. I don't want to plug it in, but I also don't want to play another Wii game. So like, that thought process has genuinely led to me playing my PS2 and Wii less. And one big thing with my setup is that I want all my consoles to be easily accessible. I know that's not like the smartest electrically wise. You know, I'm safe about it. I use high quality surge protectors and all that. I'm not gonna cause any issues. No daisy chaining for sure. But there is a mess of wires, and there is downsides to that, obviously. But I figure, you know, I know some people like have to pull out their Sega Genesis from their closet, plug it in, find the control. Like, I would never play my Sega Genesis if I had to do that. So it stays plugged in all the time. It stays on. No, I'm kidding. It doesn't stay on all the time, but it stays plugged in all the time, and I can just turn it on and play it at any given time, and it'll just work. I do have to sacrifice like some quality for that, because, you know, I don't daisy chain the wires, but I do daisy chain the RF cables, and that does take a toll on it's how it looks. But I'm not going to go back there and like screw in a different RF cable every time I want to switch systems. So all this to say is that my goal is to kind of spread around the love with my systems, make sure they all get played. It doesn't always work, but I try to be good about it. But then it's the issue of the games themselves. Like, do I play a game that I've had for a long time, or do I play a game that I just recently bought? well, I probably should play the games that I've had for a long time because I've had them for a long time and they're just sitting there taking up space. I don't buy games that I wouldn't play, so these are all games I want to play. So if I have them, I should play them. But the newer games I just got are probably more in line with whatever my random interests are at the time within gaming, whether it be like a certain handheld or a certain genre. And so it's like, okay, well, I can't play any of my new games because I just got them. I can't play any of my old games because they're not as exciting. So I guess I just won't play any video games. There's also the question of like, should they be obscure or should they be popular? I have tons of gaming blind spots. I've never played like Final Fantasy or Castlevania or Mega Man or Uncharted or The Last of Us or Legend of Zelda, Metroid, Spyro, you know, the list goes on and on. I've not played tons of series, but at the same time, it's like maybe it's more exciting to kind of carve my own path and play random weird games that no one's ever heard of, which is generally what I end up choosing, which is why I have so many huge blind spots. So I'm always playing these random games. But then it is like sometimes important to go back and play those well-known games so that I can communicate with other gamers and have stuff to compare to. Like it's important to kind of know the canon, and I don't always do a great job with that in pursuit of my individualism and self-actualization or whatever. And then comes the question of should the game be in my comfort zone or out of it? I've been trying to challenge myself playing different types of genres I don't generally play. FPSs are out and like walking sims are out. I'm just not interested. But I've been more open to like point and click adventures or like story-based games that aren't walking sims, like almost visual novel type, like Road 96. I don't know if that's a visual novel. I haven't played it, but I have it and it's high on my backlog. I probably will play it soon. And it's like, yeah, do you keep a backlog? I do, but I don't really follow it. I mean, obviously in theory, my backlog is just all of that stuff going on behind me. But I do also have like a list of like 30 or so games that are high priority that I kind of ignore. I don't even really look at it. It's more just like a therapy journaling session to kind of write it all down. And it does inform me a little bit, but yeah, I don't really look at it. And then gets into the question of newer retro, which choosing a retro game probably means I'm not gonna beat it just because I can't I can't beat retro games. I'm not built for it. There are some I've beat. A lot of them are ones with save states or ones I've forced to have save states by emulating them, which is a whole other question. Like, you know, should I emulate them or should I play them on original hardware? Well, if I ever want to beat, you know, Ninja Gaiden or Snake Rattle and Roll, it's going to be on an emulator. It's not going to be on original hardware because I'm just not dealing with all that. But then why do I even have the original hardware if I can't really play half the games on it? Not that I don't. Like, I have more fun with games like Snake Rattle and Roll, Ninja Gaiden, RC Pro-Am. I would much rather play those on the OG NES. It feels way better to play it on there, and they look better. But if my goal is to genuinely beat them, I'm going to need save states, so I'm going to be emulating. And that's just a whole nother thing that plays out in my mind. And then with newer games, it's like, obviously, they're a lot more kind of accessible. They have a lot more quality of life updates that just make them kind of an overall better playing experience a lot of the time. But then it's like, you know, who am I? Am I a poser retro gamer? Why am I playing my PS5 and Switch so much? Can I at least play my PS3 sometimes? That thing's been neglected. It's sitting there with Oblivion in there. It's been in there for like months, and I love Oblivion, but like, you know, I've probably played it for 20 hours. I've played Skyrim for 300 hours and I haven't beat it. If my goal is to beat games, why am I playing a game so much that I'm gonna have to play for 300 hours to beat? And then it's like, yeah, having that goal to beat games also affects how I play games, because I mean, it can't take away me playing puzzle games. Sometimes if I'm like stressed, I just need to play Tetris Attack to like unwind and like hold my attention for a bit. Puzzle games will always hold that for me, but like I never replay games that I already beat anymore. I used to, like, I've probably beat Need for Speed Carbon like 6 or 7 times, but I never go back and replay it anymore just because I have so many other games I have to get to. And I do want to kind of carve out a little more time for replaying games that I like, because I just think, you know, that's part of loving any art, is experiencing the things within it that you love the most. And I just don't do that anymore because I have so many new experiences to have. And you might have noticed I haven't mentioned handhelds yet, and we'll get into that because this is where I reveal that I've actually been lying. I don't have an easy time choosing games, but I am always playing games, and I do kind of have a system that has kind of worked for me. Like, I still do go through this turmoil every time it's time to choose a new game. In reality, I'm not someone who can like focus on one game and play it all the way through and beat it. I've always been kind of jealous of people like that. That's just not me. I need to have multiple games at once. But obviously, if I have too many, I just never beat them. So the compromise I've landed on is I have 3 to 4 games. 2 of them are like console games, usually a modern and a retro one. The retro one's kind of like a dubious category because, like I said, I probably only play them for like 30 minutes at a time, so I can swap those out pretty easily. Yeah, so I have a new and retro game that I play on my TV, and then I have a new and retro game that I play on handhelds. Usually that means there's a more involved like RPG type game, and then maybe like just some silly little puzzle game or platformer that I turn on for 10-15 minutes at a time. Same thing with like retro games on console. It works with retro handhelds too. So that's how I get my 3 to 4 games at a time. And yeah, like I said, that kind of works for me. I usually like switching these games in a chunk. So like if I'm switching one game, I kind of switch all of them. And that's how a lot of my games end up unfinished. Although, like I said, I am pretty good about beating games at this point. For example, right now, my main game I'd say is Pillars of Eternity on PS4. It is a game I've had for a long time, and that was my main thing when choosing this game, is I wanted to play a game that's been in my collection for a long time. Just because I've been probably valuing like newer games more than my older games recently, older as in when they entered my collection, and that's something I should fix. I should be playing all these like games I've had for a long time. So I chose Pillars of Eternity. It's also right in my comfort zone. It's like a kind of top-down, turn-based, D&D inspired RPG, medieval setting, you know, as classic as you can get in that regard. I knew I'd like this game before I even turned it on. And yeah, I do like it. It's really fun. For my retro console game, I'd say it's mainly Virtua Fighter right now. I'm not that great at it. I can get to like the 5th stage in arcade mode and then I lose. But I'm really trying. My goal is this month to beat arcade mode, and then I'll count that as beating the game. I know there's more content, but you know, I need to draw arbitrary lines somewhere. So that'll be beating the game. And then, you know, that's a cool multiplayer game to play. So when I have people over, I can actually be good at Virtua Fighter when we play. That's my ultimate dream here, and that's why I'm focusing on it. And then obviously handheld games are the games I play, you know, when I'm on break at work or I'm laying in bed. But I play my console games when I'm sitting up in bed. It's very different. Well, I mean, I have to play my retro games sitting in a chair because the wires don't reach my bed. But like my PS5 and any like wireless controller, I can play in my bed. The handheld game I'm playing right now is Dragon Quest Monsters and the Dark Prince, or whatever. I forget the exact title. But the one on the Switch, it's just, you know, super fun, like monster fusion mechanic and monster catching. The story's kind of whatever. I don't really care about it. But the monster catching is super fun. And the designs in Dragon Quest are just awesome. It's a super fun game. I've played it for like 30 hours. It's held my attention for like the last 2 months. Super awesome game. And then the retro handheld game I'm focusing on is Rime Rider Keroiko, something like that. I'll double check. But it's a WonderSwan color game because I just got my WonderSwan. And like I literally played this game the day it got delivered. Look at this also. I need to do a WonderSwan video because I've only had my WonderSwan for like a month and there's already so much cool stuff I've discovered for it. It's an awesome console. But yeah, so obviously I think you can guess why I chose that game like a day after it got delivered, because my WonderSwan's a new console. I hadn't really played any games on it, so I was like, I need to give this thing a run. And it's awesome. So yeah, those are the 4 games that I'm playing right now, and that is my system for choosing games. I'd be curious, how do you guys choose games? Let me know down in the comments. Make sure you like and subscribe, and thank you for watching. If you like what we do here, check out our Patreon. Andy and I both put a ton of content on there. We do reviews, like written reviews of games on there. And then we also, whenever Andy and I do a collab video together, there's always extra content that goes on the Patreon. So if you want to see more of what we're doing, check that out. It helps a ton. Have a good day.